again, everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of the Rock is George podcast, now streaming on all major podcasting platforms, and you can go direct to rockisgeorge.com or anchor.fm/rockisgeorge. Like I said, all major platforms, including Overcast, Breaker, Google, Spotify, Apple. Before we get started with the episode, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. I'm seeing the numbers go up week after week. It's great. I love that I can present these new bands to you, and during our whiskey breaks, present to you some new and interesting whiskeys that I hope you're going out and trying, even if you're a beginner or a longtime whiskey fan like myself. The Rock is George podcast is rock music. It's whiskey, it's pop culture, it's nostalgia, it's ever evolving. I have some great interviews coming up, which are going to punch a little more tickets than just rock music and whiskey. Definitely going to get some pop culture and nostalgia in there if everything goes well. I hope that after you listen to a podcast with a particular artist that you're checking out their music on music streaming platforms, or maybe even buying the physical copies of their music. Vinyl, I believe, is making a little bit of a resurgence, at least for collectors, and I buy a lot of vinyl, and a lot of these artists have their record in vinyl. If they don't, and you're looking for it, I would say the more you stream it, the more likely a vinyl is going to come along, because they know that there's interest in it. So in addition to the Rock is George podcast, I have a side gig at metalexpressradio.com. I do a lot of interviews with heavy metal artists and stuff like that. I just got off the phone with Doro Pesch. Used to be in Warlock. Has a great solo career going on overseas and a bit in the U.S. Axel Rudy Pell I recently interviewed. I interviewed Charlie Huhn from Foghat. I interviewed Kelly Hansen from Foreigner. I know Foreigner not so much heavy metal, but it's Foreigner. I got heavy metal guys in there. Kelly Hansen was in Hurricane, and the bass player Jeff Pilson was in Docket, so it was close enough. But I started the Rock is George podcast to kind of cover those artists that didn't really fit the Metal Express Radio format. Not so much heavy metal, sort of like all the other genres. That's why if you listen to Polychuck, probably, that was in episode 11, you heard music that wasn't even close to metal. It was a unique blend of a bunch of different things. So beyond that, let's get into episode 12. It's an up-and-coming band out of Australia called Hit and Mizz. I got to talk to their bubbly and energetic frontwoman, Mizzie Maxx, all about their latest EP, Action, the new album that they're working on, and kind of what's been going on with bands in Australia who seem to have one of the strictest lockdowns going on. So here's Mizzie Maxx of Hit and Mizz. If I knew absolutely nothing about Hit and Mizz, how would you describe the band's music to me?
From what I've heard from other people, because I don't really know, I went for tried to go for an 80s sort of vibe, but then it's sort of some songs are early 90s, some songs aren't. And there's all sort of different genres all thrown in there, but mostly late 80s, early 90s sort of vibe, I suppose.
Is that kind of a sound that you grew to like because of your family? Because you don't look like you were alive in the 80s and 90s.
No, influenced by friends, actually. My dad listened to Queen, I suppose, and the Ramones was my first favorite song ever. Was Rock and Roll Radio, and I'm like, rock and roll radio, let's go, na 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 na. Loved it. I would not stop listening to it, and that was the very first song that I remember liking. So I was like 2, and I used to go down to stairs in my dad's garage and be like, Dad, play the rock song. And then after that, there was child phase. So I went through Disney and whatnot, and then it was 90s because that's when I was growing up. So really pop chick 90s. Then more rock again, then country, then back to rock, and then it wasn't until I was 20 that I found out about actual 80s rock, and then I just fell in love with it. I love the scene, I love the people that are doing it now, I love the outfits, I love the clothes, I just loved everything about it, and then I just ran for it, and then I don't think I've fit in anywhere better, to be honest. And when I used to do karaoke when I was little, my mum's like, you got to get up there and do that Joan Jett song, I Love Rock and Roll. And I was like, but I want to do a Titanic. And she's like, no, you're better off doing that rock stuff. You like got a thing going on there. And I'm like, okay, cool. So she got me into rock and shit, and then started getting into that. And now this. And plus the guitars and the drums and the bass and everything is just so much more, just so much more.
Your band formed in 2018. How did you guys meet each other and get together?
I stole them from other bands when I was out. One of them, actually, Mish, I've been playing with for 6 years, actually, because he's our guitarist. I was in another band with him, but then he left that band. And then I also left that band, and then I hadn't talked to him for a while, and then I messaged him, like, dude, I'm going to put a band together. Do you want to come and join it? And he's like, fuck yeah. Yeah, I'll come and be in it. So I had him and me, and then I got Sludge. I can't remember actually where I found Sludge or why. I think, there was a guy called Rolo who sadly has passed away now. He found me, and then he introduced me to his son, and his son's best friend was Sludge. So then I asked Sludge, and he's a bass player, and he also plays guitar. I asked him if he wanted to join the band, and then he was like, yeah, cool. He's left the band now, so now we've got a new bass player. His name is Clintron. I will get onto that later because I haven't put a post up about him yet. And then Paul was also in another band that I was playing with, and it was a different one to Mish, and I just loved his drumming style. Didn't particularly like the music in that other band, so then I asked him if he would be in my band as well, and so he did. And then that band kicked him out because he came to play with me.
So the Mizz part of your band name is from your first name, obviously. How did you come up with the band name Hittin' Mizz?
My mum did. Because I was with her, and she's like, oh, what are you going to call your band? I'm like, I don't know. And then I had a couple of ideas, and she's like, Mizz, or you could put your name in it if you're going to be the front or whatever, because I like the whole idea of, there's Leader Ford or whatever. And that's just called Leader Ford, and Joan Jett's just called Joan Jett, but I didn't want it to also be just about me too. So I was like, okay, I don't want it to be get that arrogant. I asked the boys, and then they were like, hit miss. It sounds like miss something, so we can put miss, use a, what do you call it? A saying, like you hit and miss. And then I was like, hit and miss. And Mum's like, hit and miss. And I'm like, nice. Actually, that's totally it. Fuck yeah. So I went to the guys, and I was like, boys, hit and miss. And they're like, fuck yeah. I'm like, good on you, Mum. She gets all the credits for that. So.
In February, you released your first EP. It's called Action. You've self-released this EP. Do you want to talk a little bit about the songs? Specifically, we'll start with Want Me, because you have a video on YouTube for that.
That wasn't actually the favorite, but I had a plan that didn't really go to fruition. I kind of wanted to do that one first, then I could save the better one later on. Whatever that one was going to be. Once I put it out, I was going to find out which one that was and then do something with that. But things moved pretty quickly. Once we did that one, now we started making an album, and now we were going to do a video to Insane, because that one was popular with the chicks. And I was like, okay, because that's not really rock. That's more like now sort of music, I suppose. And then and then Action became a favorite, or actually I think is the favorite of them that I've heard the most, that it was the favorite. And then I didn't end up doing that because I'm like, that would be the most sluttiest film clip. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do without being too much of a slut for something like that. And be like, sex, which would be totally cool. But we are actually redoing it on the album as like more live, raw sort of thing. So it's got heaps more punch. It's got heaps more power to it, and much more practiced, obviously. So we may do it then. But we're going to be releasing a single from the album first, and then we're going to do the album, and then going from there, basically. Want Me just happened to be something that, I don't know, I just picked it, and I was like, let's just do Want Me and be the easiest one to sort of just do, and plus it's an alright song, so.
You have rather a cinematic type video. It seems, pretty big budget. How did the video come to fruition?
I was working with this other lady called Karen, and she organized it. She knew this guy. His name is Alex Nielsen. She messaged him, and she's like, I'm pretty sure I could do you a good deal or whatever, and he's really good, and he's just getting into all this, so he'll be able to do a video. I asked him, and then, yeah, he was really good, and he had this cool ass, what do you call the GoPro things, and then he had it on, like, what are those fan things that can fly? I can't remember.
A drone?
A drone, sorry, yeah, a drone. And then he was like following the car down the road, and I was like, that is so cool. He had drones, he had his other cameras and stuff, and he had really cool ideas of the scenery, like where the truck drives past and the guy's sitting on the side of the road. Like, that's just cool. And then we aren't allowed, like in Australia, no, we're not allowed to have a guy get in the back of the car and drive away. It's completely illegal. but
You said that you're gonna film a video for Insane. Have you started filming it yet?
No, we've actually changed our minds. We're going to, we're doing it on the 14th of August, but now we're going to be doing the single instead on the new album, just so we can have a single release, so we have more time to sort of complete the album, because we realize we're going to need more time before we can release that, because we're just putting in all our effort to make sure it's, well, as best as we can, because with the EP it was just straight out, quickly record it, whatever, done, and then this one we're like, no, we're actually going to put as much time as possible into making this as perfect as we can, so that we're extremely happy with what we're going to do. Yeah.
Are you going to use all the songs from the EP on your new album, or are you going to just start kind of fresh?
Well, there's 6. We're using 4. Sex, Devil's Gonna Bring You Down, Patronize, and yeah, My God. Yeah. So going to do this. They're different, which is good, but they're the way that I want them to sound. Much more rock. I'm like excited. I can't wait to can't wait to show it. It'll be awesome.
Do you have a title in mind for the new album?
No. We were going to call it Burn, but that's going to be the single instead. So we're still trying to work out, speak with management, trying to work out what we should do, speaking with the guys. And we have a slogan. My drummer, Shep, he's like, well, why don't we call it Get Your Hits Out? And I'm like, love it. But that's more like I want that to sort of be like our slogan, like hit and miss, get your hits out, not the name of the album.
Do you plan on self-releasing the full album, or are you going to be shopping it around?
Not sure yet. I haven't actually asked about that. I know that I can, so I may not need to, because I like being in control and doing everything myself, and I reckon that I just can, and that way I have everything in my hands, not through a label or like that. I mean, if a label approached us or whatever, then maybe, but I just kind of like doing it myself.
Rock is George here, interrupting the interview for the Rock is George podcast Whiskey Break. I felt, in honor of Mizzie Maxx and Hit and Miss being from Australia, that I would review an Australian whiskey. I know what you're thinking. Australia has whiskey? I mean, we've known for years that they've had delicious red wines. I mean, I love all the Australian reds. I mean, I can't get enough of it when I'm drinking wine. But there is an Australian whiskey out there. It's called Starward. Starward. They are truly Melbourne born and bred. The current batch that I have is called Twofold Double Grain. They have a lot of different styles if you go to their website, starward.com.au. This particular batch is really the only one I've seen in the U.S. It's a wheat and malted barley batch that's aged in an Australian red wine barrel. So, right there, it's got my vote because of their wine. I guess wheat and malted barley are Australia's kind of primary grains, and of course their wines are known throughout the world. So they describe it as bright aromas of spiced vanilla, tropical fruits, and cereals. That would probably have to do with the malted grain. So let's give this baby a try. It's very affordable. I'll tell you right now, it's about $40 here in the U.S. I'm looking at the other batches on their website right now, like Nova and Fortis and Solara and Unexpeded, and they're kind of expensive. 2 to 3 times the price of what I paid for this. So let's give Starward Twofold a try. So you taste a lot of the oak from the wine barrel right off the bat. There's definitely sweetness, probably getting pulled from that wood and the red wines. It doesn't say specifically what kind of red wine, but you kind of get sort of that that fruit note, and you're getting the cereal and the vanilla notes that they say you're gonna get. I mean, normally I think that stuff's bullshit, but I'm definitely getting it here. It's light on the tongue. It doesn't have very thick viscosity. I try not to use too many big reviewer words because I'm just a guy like you guys out there. I just simple. Is it good? Is it bad? This is good. It's a good. I'd drink it straight up. I wouldn't mix it with anything. Probably gonna use this. You're gonna lose the nuanced flavors, I think, if you mix it with something else. Maybe not so much an old fashioned, but I mean, your granddad drank those. So once again, that's Starward Twofold Double Grain. Check it out. It's an Australian whiskey, affordable. Now back to Mizzie Maxx of Hit and Mizz.
From what I understand, Australia has probably some of the most strict lockdown stuff going on. Are you guys able to play live right now?
We were until apparently like 2 hours ago. In this state, in Queensland we are. Sydney is going absolutely terrible. 2 hours ago we just went into lockdown because there's a chick in a school and she got it from absolutely no one has no any idea. She just got it. There's no connections to any of the other COVID cases. And Sydney's just down, like, underneath us, and they are getting, like, 200 cases a day, and now they're bringing in the army to try and keep it under control. And then they did it. And then there was this lockdown protest. Of course, there's a lockdown protest. And one of the guys in the lockdown protest got COVID. And so he's going with everyone else in the protest. So now everyone in the protest has to go and get tested. And I had a solo gig, my first one, and like I'm kind of like, you know what, that's okay because I was so unprepared. And my personal manager TJ, he's like, you're gonna do this. I just booked you a 3-hour acoustic gig, and I'm like, cool. I know about one song. This is gonna be great. And I was sort of sitting there playing the guitar this morning. I'm like, I better practice. And I'm like, oh my god, I am 100% not ready. But that luckily, because that was gonna be hilarious. But lockdown, so it's cancelled basically, so that's okay.
Sure. You guys haven't had a chance to play. Have you had a chance to play your songs live from the EP?
Yeah, we did for a while there. So we did about 3 or 4 shows up here. We did one down at the Gold Coast, and then we were planning on a tour for the end of this year, an Aussie tour for that. But I think that was going to be for the album because I'm releasing the album in late October. Not that I say that just yet, but I just did. Sorry. Should be around late October. But we're not going to be able to tour now. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit crappy. So I'm going to get a little creative and see what I can do online and kind of push that where I can't do anything else. And maybe I can get the boys together to do some live shows online. Don't know.
So when the scene was open, is the scene where you're from friendly to original material, or is it mostly cover bands?
I don't really go out and see cover bands because usually go out and just see the original bands because that's the sort of scene that I'm in. So, you go and see your friends play and whatnot. So I haven't really seen any unless you go to like a pub and you're out for a Saturday night, then you'll go see a cover band. Like if you're having a drink and you just want to listen to that, then yeah, hell yeah. But usually we go and try and, support our friends and whatever and make sure that they're doing good as much as you can. Because cover bands are always going to get a crowd. Like there's always someone there because they know the song's going to do it, so we support the other guys instead.
Did you have to start out as a cover band initially, or did you just pretty much go right into the original stuff?
Straight in. So I knew the people. It's just because they're really good up here because there are a lot of bars that do support local original music. So we used to be able to, not right now anymore, but there's heaps of places around the valley where they only really play original music. They might do like a cover band on a Friday night or original bands on a Friday night, cover bands on a Saturday night or something like that. So there's plenty of opportunity. Well, there was plenty of opportunity to be able to go out and get some gigs. There's heaps of places that completely support it, which is fantastic. Very artsy.
So in keeping an 80s theme that you sort of have in your band, I noticed that you play BC Rich guitars, which not a very popular guitar over here, but it is very associated with the 80s. So what type of BC Rich guitars are you playing?
I have 2. I only play the one though because it's light. and the other one's heavier. I've got a Warlock and an Avenge, and I'm pretty sure that it's called, they're part of a goth collection. They basically look exactly the same. But I am really, I'm saving up at the moment. I've got like, I think $300 towards it. I'm going to get the Ibanez. It's like pink and black. It's got a handle. I think it's called a gem.
Is that Steve Vai's model or Satriani's? I think it's Steve Vai's model.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and it looks like it's like fluoro pink and black, and it has the cool handle on it.
It's on one of your web pages. I saw it. I believe that the one with the handle is Steve Vai Ibanez.
I need that in my life. Like, everything I have is mostly pink and black. And I'm like, sorry, I put down my BC Rich, and I'm like, I want it so bad. I'm going to get one.
Now that you're kind of out there and playing music and stuff like that, have you ever had the opportunity to meet any of your musical heroes?
I met Phil Lewis. That was cool. And my boyfriend, because he like LA Guns is like his absolute favorite band, and he was just sitting there like shaking, and I'm like, "Hey, Phil!" He's like having a count. He comes over, and Stacey's just like, I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Hi." I'm like, "Oh," and so I met him, which is freaking awesome. I haven't actually met anyone else, unfortunately. That was as good as it gets, I think. Oh wait, no, of course. Oh my God, I went on stage with Gene Simmons when he came down here. I was walking around, and I don't know, I was just in a venue, and his manager came up and asked if I wanted to go on stage and sing a song with him, and it was me and two other girls. And it was like, "Wait, what are you doing? Like, what's with your shoes?" And he commented on my shoes, and I was wearing these like big ass platform with pink and black like fluoro lines all through them. And he's like, "Don't you fall over in those shoes?" And I'm like, "Are you shitting me?" Like, okay, all right. It wasn't Kiss, but it was the Gene Simmons show, and he was there with, I can't remember the other guy's name right now. I get frozen when I try and think of things. Amazing. And that was the coolest thing ever. So yeah, I met him too, I guess.
I think the coolest thing ever is that when I asked you if you met your musical heroes, you picked Phil Lewis from LA Guns before Gene Simmons. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'm not. I just happened to be there because someone gave me a free ticket, to be honest. So, but yeah, no, I haven't really listened to Kiss too much. I do like some of their songs. I'm not saying they're bad or anything. My mum always references them when she goes, when Kiss started, they had no crowds. And I'm like, okay, come on. She's like, now look how big they are. So never get turned off because there's no one there to see you. And I'm like, thanks, Mum. So she's always used that since I was like 5 as a reference to everything. So that's Kiss reference in my life. But yeah, no, LA Guns is much better.
Who would you say is the biggest Australian music act?
As in like famous bands or?
Well, I'd say probably in the U.S. the most famous musician is probably Taylor Swift, but I'm a little out of the loop. So who would be an Australian band that's actually considered like the band in Australia?
Hit Mizz?
See, I can only think of Rick Springfield.
I haven't honestly listened to new stuff for a while, unfortunately, so I don't really know who is, but I'm just gonna go with AC/DC.
AC/DC, good enough.
I don't know all the new pop stuff anymore. I sort of haven't listened to it in ages.
Is rock music still popular in Australia? Because it's sort of second tier in the States. It's pop, and then it's hip hop and modern rock. But is rock popular in Australia?
Or around the people that I hang out with, yeah. I don't think because of all the pages that I like on Facebook, it is only just that. I only see the heavy metal pages, this and that. So that's all I'm seeing, like, every single day. But from what I can see, I'm going to say yes. We absolutely love rock here. But I would still say that probably the pop stuff and anything on the radios, it's all pop rock. So that'd definitely probably be the preferred between everyone in the whole entire world, like all of Australia.
That's all I got for you today, Mizzie. I want to thank you for taking the time to appear on the Rock is George podcast.
You're awesome. Thank you so much.
I wish you the best of luck with your current EP, which is called Action, and it's on all streaming platforms. Everybody can check it out. And I wish you luck on putting your new full album together, and I look forward to listening to it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you once it's done, so then you can have that as well.
Sounds great.
And I want to thank Mizzie Maxx for taking the time to appear on the Rock is George podcast. I also want to thank Black Ruse Entertainment for making it possible. Be sure to check out Hit and Mizz's new EP, Action, on all major music platforms. Check them out at their website, hitandmizz.com. They're also on Facebook and every other social media like every other band. This has been the Rock is George podcast, episode 12. You've been great. I've been George Dion. I'll see you again soon.